Alrighty, let's see if this works. Cool. Looks like it's working. Sweet. Alrighty, well then I will get to skinning heads. Make sure everything looks like it's working over on X. Profile. Cool, well, it's working. Just a little bit quiet, which is unnerving, but what do you do? Alrighty, well, time we get to work. I guess if people stop in, cool. If not, oh well. Pop this. Good thing about the shop is there's lots of random stuff lying around to use as a bottle opener. Alright. Go off the camera and get my first deer head. I don't have any to boil right this second, which kind of sucks. Because usually you could do some boiling the meat and whatnot off while I am working. Oh, where do I put this at? Is there any? Where does Dad have his tape at? I'll just zip tie it for now, or bread tie it. Don't know if anyone will stop by right now or not, but regardless, here I am doing what I do for extra cash, working, doing taxidermy. And we'll see if anyone stops in, if I can be heard or not, or if the audio sounds like complete garbage and I'll get a different, better mic for this stuff. First, I want to get fresh blade for skinning. The goal is to take the deer head from looking like a deer head to looking like one of those. Nice and clean and polished. I try not to make anything too bloody here, but this is, you could call it educational purposes, or just the reality of taxidermy and hunting. Right now I'm live on testing on X and on YouTube. Also started out great, just stabbed myself. At least it was a fresh blade. What's up? Howdy, buddy. Punished Faith TV. And this is just, I mean, we all got to figure out a way to get by, right? Like, it's not glamorous, but this is just the way that my family is, right? Like, I grew up hunting and trapping and skinning. So it's kind of one of those deals where my wife grew up not silver spoon or anything, but she's a little bit nicer. And I grew up skinning out animals for people and doing general just grunt labor. I just want to stuff a little bit of something in there in case I poked myself deeper than I thought. Shouldn't have been. It was just above the fingernail. But yeah, Dad was always doing taxidermy work. Well, on top of other things to just try to keep food in our bellies and roof over our heads. And now I'm doing similar because he has lots of work to do on top of we're hopefully going to be retiring here in the spring. So he's like, I always turn away work, but if you want to do it, I won't have to turn anything away then. I told him, sure, why not? Because honestly, this is one of those things where I feel like if I didn't do it, I would kick myself later because it was something that I should have taken the time to learn how to do. So yeah, this is where we are now. And the money's not bad. I don't hate doing it, honestly. Home lately has been a little bit hectic with the newborn and not a lot of sleep. And I got a lot of crap going on. So it's kind of like, I would never say I wouldn't want to spend time with my family, but it's kind of nice to just be able to come out here to my family home and do some mountain man stuff. Crack a beer and just kind of be left alone with my own thoughts. And I figured, heck, why not also stream it? Like, assuming that I don't let things get too graphic. Like, this is honestly educational purposes if anyone actually cared to know what I'm doing or see what I'm doing. And it's just not much different than just butchering meat. Like, this animal's been dead for several days. And now it's one of those deals where they're not, it's not quite a nice enough deer to mount. Like, it's nice, and I would definitely see some people mounting it. But if they don't want to pay the, I don't know, almost $1,000 to mount it, they can have a European mount for substantially cheaper and still be able to show off the trophy and have a memento of the hunt on top of all of the meat that they get for it. Because, I'll tell you one thing, around here, everyone is definitely eating what they kill. I live in a very poorer than I thought, a very poor area of Pennsylvania. I didn't realize how low our county was. You guys can hear me, correct? As I say, I'm just assuming everything looked good coming in, but I probably should pull up on my phone and make sure that you can actually have audio and it's not just me cutting up a deer head in utter silence like a psychopath. Okay, thank you, bud. Machine Goonery, also known as, formerly as Weapons Co. Great buddy from over in the Facebook days before we were all yeeted off that platform for edgy jokes, memes, and honestly just speaking the truth about a lot of stuff. Like, I still think it's pretty funny whenever I see folks be like, I got kicked off of Facebook or my account got removed or something, and they're, I don't know, usually larger people, more mainstream type accounts, not just kind of shit posters like most of us were. And I'm like, yeah, no crap. If you say anything that is just deviates from the norm and you're not just the typical, I don't know, boomer posting account where you're just grandma and grandpa talking about Fox News and ranting about the president, then you probably won't last long over on Facebook. I try not to bitch and moan about it too much because it was cool. I'm like, I got to be monetized over on Facebook. Even after they booted me off, I still had, I think I still got like 2 paychecks from them for like $10, $15 for engagement, which was nuts. I mean, not too many people can say, oh yeah, I was posting shitty art and memes and making money from Meta. That's probably a lot more than you would think nowadays because you've got all your influencer culture and whatnot. But yeah, now I've got limited time. We've got a hell of a snowstorm rolling in, and I only own a car. I know, terrible country boy of me, not owning a big truck for no reason. But blizzard rolling in, lake effect snow. We got hit pretty hard last week or over the the beginning of the week, and a little bit on the weekend, and we're supposed to get hit again all this week. But I mean, I don't have to worry about stuff spoiling. But Dad only has so many freezers and refrigerators out here, so if I can get some of this stuff rolling, then the better. Is eventually I want to be able to. Most of these are ones I did last week. Antelope wasn't mine. The dipped one's been there, but the other deer skulls, including the massive one right over there, the absolute trophy. The guy's like, I just want it done to put it on the wall. Okay. Try to get some of these processed out, get paid, and get them out of the shop here. I'm definitely lucky and blessed that my dad is into this type of thing and not just one piece of crap who is like, oh, well, we make what we make. I'll spend a bunch of it on whatever I want. Like, he's always worked very hard, and I feel like I picked up a lot of that from him, that you just kind of gotta do what you gotta do to get by. And grew up hunting a lot. May or may not have bent some rules for how old you're allowed to hunt whenever I was growing up. But soon after, they started the mentorship program in Pennsylvania, where you could hunt at a younger age and essentially like use an adult tag that was with you. So I just like to think that we were innovators, is all, ahead of the curve. But yeah, legitimately, we did not eat beef much at all. We were quite poor. Everything was venison. We raised our own chickens, had a garden to supplement stuff. But that also led me to kind of where I am now, where I talk with kind of friends and sometimes family, and they're like, we're single income. It's not easy, but I'm like, listen, we've been planning on doing this our entire lives, my wife and I. Like, we knew that this was our end goal would be single income. She stays home with the kids, homeschools. So we've just kind of been building ourselves up to that point. Right now, I am skinning out the lower jaw and lip, essentially. Some of it's kind of... I don't mind this one, like deer, quite as much. My family does own a white-tailed deer, or did own a white-tailed deer farm. I just talked about how poor we were. This is after we got a little bit more. But whenever I've skinned out like coyote or fox, it's weird because their lips are very much like a dog's lips. So that's a little bit of a stomach turn at times. But yeah, so being homeschooled growing up, it was one of those deals where once I was, I don't know, maybe 12, 13? I don't know, I have to look up when the Game Boy Advance came out. I asked my parents, I'm like, why? I should probably be younger, probably like 8. Who knows? Asked my parents, I'm like, how come my friends get an allowance and I don't for like taking the trash out, whatever. And they said, you don't get paid to do things that are just called being part of the family. So if you want money, you're going to have to go out and earn it. And I remember that I really wanted a Game Boy Advance. So I went to work for the neighbor down the road. And by neighbor, I mean he was like 4 houses down, whatever. He would feed the deer and just to see what we had throughout the year. Corn on the, like dried corn on the cob. And that meant every year in the spring, he needed the cobs pulled out of his yard so he didn't hit them with his lawnmower. So I got paid a penny a corn cob to pick up corn cobs out of his yard. And it was honor system, but I made a point to never lie to people like that. Plus, he was a friend of the family, so like you're not going to lie to your friends. I mean, if you do, you're a scumbag. And ended up saving enough money from doing that to get a Game Boy, which I think at the time was, I don't know, 100, like Game Boy, a couple games. It was over $100, maybe 150. So you break that up by a penny a piece. I picked up a lot of corn cobs. But what else did I do for money? That was kind of hillbilly hick. Skinned out animals for people whenever they would do trapping. Like, I mean, I love hunting. I haven't done it in a while, unfortunately, just because of how babies and life have kind of fallen up. We've been super busy with crap. I want to get back to it. But I have no problem, like, defending hunting against people. I struggle a little bit with trapping. Kind of tends to be more of a heritage type thing. Like it's still pest control and like population control. Ta-da! Skin gone. So this, throw it outside in the trash real quick in our scrap pile. Ooh. Anyhow, whereas with trapping, I always felt kind of like scummy because the animal's getting stuck and then you come along and we always shot them. I didn't like clubbing them, even though that was another way you could do it, partly because I skinned out so many animals for other people that would beat the absolute pudding out of the animal. Like, it was dead, but it just got really messy on the inside. All right, let's see here. Some of this I'll probably have to do off camera because I gotta remove lower jaw, so I'll probably just slide down out of frame, and then I have to remove eyes, which I can do away from the camera so you can't see. But yeah, cut into this cheek, loosen up that jaw. But yeah, did a little bit of trapping. I always grew up kind of idolizing mountain men, probably just because of where we are. So I've always enjoyed doing like the flintlock hunting, trapping, kind of anything that feels like we're like going primitive with it. My dad's a huge archery hunter, so I did a lot of archery hunting as well. Kind of considered gun season to be the grocery shopping equivalent of hunting, just because if you could see them and you were a good shot, you're more or less you're gonna get it. So we did archery for the challenge and the fun. Same thing with flintlock or muzzleloader. I just always prefer flintlock, inline. But yeah. So I'm cutting some muscle down like here, so I can loosen that jaw up and remove the jaw. And in the back, they have these little tiny like throat bones that are probably about the size of 2 toothpicks glued together. And I'm working with a scalpel. Dad likes to use these old, like, we have like an old junky blade, but I, for the life of me, cannot get a decent edge on it. And that's whenever you seem you did punch holes in yourself is when you're working with a dull blade. So instead I'll use the scalpel and these little nippers to get those little throat bones cut so I can keep cutting this muscle to remove this lower jaw. And that'll go out in the junk too. I can loosen that up. And then I will cut a cloth so I'll put on these lower teeth. Trigger warning for crunching because I got to remove this. Put it on the edge of the table and get that jaw to open up. All right. Now I got the mouth open some. I can go give it the, what was it, Glasgow smile. Cut that muscle. That should be some of the last things holding that jaw in place. So all I have to do is just yank on it and pop that jaw out of the socket, and then I can cut the muscle and remove it the whole way. Come on. What do I still have in here that's holding it? Or am I just being a wimp? Do a different, better glove. Rag. There we go. Ooh. Well, that was the jaw breaking. It's not what I wanted. Alright. Okay, enough of it went with that. I can cut that loose. Alright. Cut this fat out, this muscle. Then I'm gonna remove, I'll end up removing the eyes and trimming up as much of the meat off of it as I can get, because I'll end up putting in a pot of boiling water with some other chemicals, also known as washing soap, old dish soap powder, help cut all the grease. And then I'll probably go for like an hour and a half total. And then that'll be most of the meat will be cooked. All I have to do is pick it off with my fingers and a razor blade. All right. Usually the jaw pops off a little bit nicer than that, but as long as it comes off, I guess it doesn't really matter. Watch what I'm cutting, so I hit my thumb. All right, jawbone. Pop you out of there the rest of the way. These really are awesome animals, except for when they run out on the road in front of you. Oh, right, that's lower jaw gone. And now we commence to trimming up all this fat. I got to remove this. There's one, and actually there's one of the vertebrae still attached on the neck, so I'll have to get that off. Eyes, brain, extra meat, and then they can hang out until I go to boil. And right now I've got 4 heads total in the refrigerator. And I had 6 coming into this weekend that needed to be done. And now I'll have what else? think like another 6. I think I have like a dozen of these that need to be taken care of. Yeah. Double check here. Don't think. Check the other freezer, see if my Padre put any of these heads in this freezer. Then he boiled off. Sweet. I see at least 2. Yeah. 2, 3 that need boiled. Cool, I can multitask then. So I'm going to take, looks like a turkey cooker, but the pot needs to be stainless steel. Why is this piece of cord on here? I don't like that. Yes, if it's aluminum, apparently it will eat the pot up. I haven't seen that. That's just according to my father. I have no reason not to believe him on that. Alrighty. Strip my glove off for a second. I'm not bleeding out from my tiny boo-boo. Double check with my father that he's the one who's out here and gets all the information from these guys. So heads, freezer, boil, ton, and 4 in the fridge to skin. Correct? Cool. And he will probably be here. He's going to get home probably around 2:30. So I'll probably end the stream around there because I don't know that he will understand what I am doing. Talking to myself like a crazy person. But I'm glad to see, at least so far, since they live out in the middle of nowhere, they've got the Elon internet. It doesn't seem like we're having a ton of problems with things dropping. Chewy. Just double check on my phone. Oh, everything's still working. Cool. Dope. We'll take it. Go check my pot. It's just a big turkey cooker. I'll put outside with some propane. Work on getting some of the meat off it while that pot fills up. Most of this, you'd be surprised, will fall right off his deer head. Once I have it mostly cleaned up, all I have to do is essentially just pick off a bunch of cooked meat. And I say a bunch, not even really all that much. It's just time consuming because it's got gunk and stuff on it. The jaw comes through here, connects up in behind. There's a pocket pretty much from the jaw through to right above the ear and behind the eye. So I can reach into all this stuff and be able to get things like the optic nerve for pulling the eyes. And this is just about like an inch thick piece of meat at the top that caps off the top of the jaw above the ear. This is your ear canal right here, that little hole. And once I'm done with picking it all off and it's mostly clean, I'll end up taking the bones that are at the base of that ear and popping it out. It's just like kind of a ball that, honestly, it looks ugly on the mount. All right, check my water again. Pretty close. I should be able to fit at least 2 heads, if not 3 heads inside this water. Man, I need a cup of this soap. Let it bubbling over. I don't feel like having my fire go out. Alrighty, cool. I think the last time I looked, remember I was standing over there, there's about 40 people watching, which at least if those numbers are accurate, I was not expecting that at all. So thanks everyone and anyone for joining me and looking at this. It's just me hanging out at my parents' house doing this work in the taxidermy shop. So it's not like there's a lot going on, and pretty bored. No, there's two heads that need boiled right here. Start with them. So check this outside now and grab one of those heads. All right, so this is what it's going to look like whenever I'm done. So started out looking like, deer, meaty, not meaty, just kind of bloody. Oh, dry blood. This is just kind of that fascia. That covers the bones, papery. And yeah, brains are all scrambled and removed. And like on this head, there's a vertebrae still that needs removed. They cut it off a little bit further back. So I have to pry and get that off, and then yeah, scramble. Step outside, get this water started, and yeah. I remember figure out where Dad stuck his lighter at. $1 million question. Should have brought a lighter with me. I don't have to look for one. Yeah. How's everyone's day going? Mine has been pretty uneventful so far. Just kind of a wake up, check the weather, shovel out the cars, try to get my wife a little bit of extra sleep since she's dealing with the newborn. Fix my mic. Yeah. All right, might have to ask Dad where the heck the lighter ended up at. Really should have just brought my own. Oh, where's my lighter? Oh, look at this pot outside at least. Oh, there it is. Cool, found it. All right. I got right outside the door. Get my little boiling station set up. Water on. Cool. There is propane. I don't have to go hunting for one. All right. And flame is lit. Water is heating. Let's get it. Alrighty, and now I will go back to trimming up the deer head that's sitting over there. Alright. Enough of that. Alright. Alright. Well, it looks like some of these messages took a little bit to pop in, but yeah, it's just I figured it's something a little bit different, right? Like I just wasn't sure with skinning type stuff if it's something that I can do without algorithms freaking out and being like, hey, it's blood and gore or animal abuse. Like, no, it's a dead animal. And I am providing a service so that hunters can be able to display this animal. It's not like it's just getting processed and thrown away forever. Like, it gets hung up and then it's a conversation piece and they can talk about the hunt and everything that went into trying to take one of these animals. It's not like you just go down to the grocery store and pick up a pack. All right, what do I want to do first? Probably that vertebrae. Yeah, I'm trying to watch chat on StreamYards at least, but it seems like some of it comes in a little bit slow from X. I'm going to trim this meat away so I can find where exactly the joint on this vertebrae is. It should be pretty high up, base of the skull. And once I get, it seems to work better if I come from the bottom. A lot of white-tailed deer, like they're not the same size as a mule deer like out west. So their necks aren't quite as beefy. We have had a couple that you could end up eating the neck as like a neck roast, but most of them just aren't really worth the effort that you have to put in for what you get. Wow, that was actually really clean. Huh. Whenever I had to remove one of these before, it wasn't quite as nice and clean as this one is. One of the ones I did last week, it was interesting. We had, Dad puts them in like grocery bags, wraps the head up to keep it from getting frostbitten or anything if it's in the freezer for very long. And sorry, it's a little bit cold out here in the shop. My nose is running. Yeah, ta-da. So vertebrae, ta-da, neck meat, base of the skull. That bone is so stinking smooth, and that would be brain matter. So I'll end up scrambling that out, removing it to the best of my ability, because as much as I can get off now, whenever I go to boil the skull, the less crap's going to be in the water. And the whole point is to get the skull bleached as white as possible. So if there's any oil from the fat or any skin that's left on it, then that oil will leach out into the water. And like I said, it's boiling water, so like your antlers and stuff, it softens up and oil can seep in. Oil can seep into the bone and discolor it. And the whole point is, again, you want to get super white. So why the heck would you want to add work for yourself by allowing it to get all nasty looking? I will admit that I feel like there's enough meat here that we could probably eat it. Because there is, whenever it's boiling that meat off, it smells like boiled cooked meat. Alrighty. I want to get the back of the skull here as clean as possible because it's a massive pain in the butt to get that off. It gets real hard and gristly. Clean that up a little bit. If this goes half decent, it's not a massive pain, I'll try to see if I'm usually coming out here once or twice a week. If I can just stream this for funsies and entertainment for other people and a little bit of entertainment for myself, I can work on my broadcasting work. Potentially get a little bit better setup. Like I have my earbud in, I'm not listening to anything. There's nothing to listen to. So maybe I could just get like a lapel mic or something. And I'll have to listen back and see how crappy this sounds. Fun fact, whenever I first moved back here with my wife from Lower Pennsylvania, my poor father had just gotten this taxidermy shop set up. And I think I had just the last time I had visited, helped move this table that I'm set up on into this garage. Well, it's next to the garage, the office. And he was like, we were like, okay, well, we need to find somewhere to stay. Our house hadn't sold yet in Lower Pennsylvania. And he was like, well, you can move into the taxidermy office. There's a bathroom off screen, just like in the corner. There's a big utility sink. He put an old oven, which you can see down there underneath that little microwave. We use these Husky rolling toolboxes as like butcher's blocks and to keep all of our cutlery and utensils and cooking pots and pans in. And I lived in this shop, and there was, like with my wife and I, it was definitely not comfortable, but it worked. And it got us through, and my family was gracious enough to give us that opportunity to stay here and not have to pay rent or anything while we waited for our house to sell. And because of that, and me being a greasy Italian, over on this wall, there's a stain where I would lay in bed or sit in bed and lean my back against the wall. All right. That is most of the meat that I can get without it boiling yet. Aside from the eye. Still got the eye to remove. Got 2 skulls that are ready to be boiled. They're sitting out in the garage. Alright. Trim some more of this off. Trim this nose, because it's just mostly cartilage. And it gets really gross whenever it gets boiled, but it just turns into like one giant gelatinous booger, but bloody flesh colored. Trim some more of this meat off. I'm never really quite sure how much I can get away with not trimming, so I just kind of default to pick it as clean as you can in the most efficient amount of time, so you're not losing your mind spending all day just trying to trim a couple little pieces of fat off. But I like to do less work on them whenever they're boiled than more. Most, like the meat and stuff, will fall right off, but anything that really is like cartilage and collagen just gets real sticky. And then you have to scrape at it and poke at it. We've got old dental tools for picking out some of the spots where like there's a nerve that runs through the jaw. If you're lucky, you can hook it and pull it out like a worm. All right, so what I'm not going to show is me cutting around this eyeball. I'll just tell you what I'm doing. I'm going around the eye socket, trying not to poke a hole in the eye itself, because it's just kind of gross whenever all the jelly and fluid comes out. For homeschooling, we dissected one of these before. It's kind of cool. All right, I'm going to step outside real quick and look and see how that water is doing. It is steaming. All right, let me feel where the wind's coming from and put a board in the way. That little bit of wind coverage will help a lot. All right, back in. All right, keep cutting around this eyeball. It's just a lot of like fat, and it almost feels like bread dough in behind the eye. And obviously there's muscles for moving your eye. But if I get that loosened up as much as possible, then I have to hook behind it with, all Dad did was take like a screwdriver and bend it. So you just kind of hook and it gets behind the optic nerve and put a little bit of tension on it. So I can get the eye a little bit out of the way and keep working, because ideally I want the eye to come out in like as unmolested as possible, with just the fat and tissue and muscle attached to it. And I can come in from the bottom up to that pocket that I mentioned earlier to get that all cleaned out. So it may, like, again, it once you boil it, a lot of this stuff comes right off. Like, it kind of is mind-boggling. you start to cook it and all this stuff will just come off in the water, or with a little bit of scraping, just pop right off. All right. I mostly got the optic nerve still holding it in there. I'm looking down through a crack that's like a quarter of an inch maybe around the eye socket and the eyeball, just working with that. All right. I also need to be a little bit gentle with the nose, so I don't want to flip this thing around too much, because there's a seam where the bones that fill out the nose attach to kind of like more of the main skull. And if that breaks loose, like, it's not the end of the world, it can be glued, but again, why give yourself more work? All right. Feels more loose. This is just fat and crap. There we go. Hooked around that nerve. Unfortunately, I'm just kind of cutting blind, trying to feel and hit what I'm still holding this eyeball in place. So yeah. Hope everyone had a pretty good Thanksgiving. I came out here with my family. There we go. And eyeball. Ta-da! And fat. So here is that pocket that comes in from the top of the head, above the ear, down through to where the jaw connects. And then right here, in this kind of mass, to poke through and get to eye cavity. So again, there's a bunch of gunk in there, so I'm just going to try to cut it and pop it loose. So that's one less thing that I have to pollute the water whenever I'm boiling this off. Which this one probably won't be done today. Could be, maybe. Depends if I can fit in the pot with the other three, or the other two. And yeah, I can fit 3 in that pot if it's like Tetris. 2 goes pretty easy. You don't want to let the burr, the base of the antler, stick down in the water if you can help it for too much, because again, it'll kind of stain it with the oils and fats that come off the rest of the head. And as it is, like, I'll probably have to, because of the bleaching process, have to go and stain the base of it with like almost like a wood stain to help give it some more color again. But why complicate things? We want it to look as natural as possible while still being bleached. All right. So that's one pocket pretty well cleaned off. Double check my phone, make sure I don't have any maydays from my wife. Nope. Here we go. Thankfully, I'm only about, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes away. So if anything ever did happen with my family, I can just rush back home pretty quick. I snip this other. Here's those throat bones I was talking about earlier. That came down, kind of connected to the jaw and the back of the throat. Just snip that. Those are long and poking me and awkward to work around. All right, cool. Now I will go up in behind this other eye. Get that opened up. Hopefully that water will start to boil soon, despite it being 20 degrees out. I will say that while I don't find it wholly unpleasant, the taxidermy shop has a distinct odor to it. A little bit less so than whenever Dad was working on an antelope. Is it antelope? Yeah, antelope. It is. Like, deer have antlers, bone, right? grows out of their head. Antelope have antlers, which essentially has like a hard center. I think it might be bone. I'm not 100% positive. But then what you see is more like, I think it's closer to hair. I think it's made of keratin. But because of that, if you're trying to clean it up and get it so it doesn't like boil it off, so it doesn't stink, like and still be actively rotting whenever you're hanging it on the wall, you have to separate that antler from the inside piece. And Dad's method, whether it was wholly the right way or not, I'm never 100% sure, but he's the expert in this matter, was to allow it to rot, and then essentially it should just be able to slide right up off of that bone. So for the last 2 weeks, whenever I've come out, it was a little stinky in here. I couldn't quite figure out why until I realized that, yeah, no, there's a rotting animal skull. Let me double check a few things. So good there. Oh, yeah, looks like everything's so good. Cool. Alrighty. Hope you're enjoying the dulcet tones of me working on an animal head. Also, I'm not sure if the number that's on this stuff that pops up on StreamYards is like concurrent viewers, or if it is like a total between whenever you're streaming to both X and YouTube. If it says I have 62, I find that highly unlikely. So I'm thinking that's probably more of just a grand total. But regardless, anyone who pops in and stays for any length of time, I appreciate you coming in and just not allowing me to talk to myself. At least I can talk to myself and pretend like I'm someone online. All right, try to work on this eyeball. Get this other eye pulled out. Little sack of jelly with what looks like a decorative glass rock in the middle for the lens. I was saying earlier that Dad likes to wrap these in plastic bags so that they don't get like freezer burnt if they're in there for any amount of time. And I was rinsing one of the heads off before I cleaned it a little bit more and then started boiling it. And the end of a tine fell out. So none of the ones that are currently in the shop were missing the tip of their antler. Love shredding. So I had asked Dad whenever I saw him again, I'm like, hey, did you have a deer antler that the tip snapped off it? And he said he didn't think so. I said, well, unless this came from a reused bag, there was an antler inside this thing. So either A, it broke off on another animal and was still in the bag and you decided to reuse the bag, or B, this buck had another deer's antler busted off in him somewhere and it just dislodged and fell out. Which is possible. If you spend any time around like the hunting community or in sportsman, outdoorsman type stuff, you can find pictures and stories of people finding during the rut, which is when they are breeding and the good doe are in heat. You can find stories of where they were fighting, the bucks were fighting with each other, and they would get locked up and stuck. And sometimes, if they were lucky, people would find them, eyes out, and free them, or they would find a live deer dragging around a dead deer. Because again, their antlers got intertwined, or just both of them dead, which would be a horrible way to go. Just slowly starving because you decided to fight with another buck and couldn't get away from them afterwards. All right. Get this skin to pop open. Actually, that was some jawbone that popped up, which is okay because, again, jawbone is pretty hollow, but there can be blood that gets stuck up in there and discolors it like a black color, or will, again, start to stink. So we're just trying to get it as clean as possible. We're gonna get slammed with, I think, 8+ inches in the next 2 days of snow. So, not that anybody's clamoring for the European mount. I don't like to leave a long lead time. So we're gonna just trying to get out here when I can, bust some of these out so they can get their trophy back. I can get paid. Dad can get paid less than me now, but it's just because he's subsidizing. I'm not gonna begrudge him giving me the lion's share of the pay, but not all of it, because I'm still using his supplies and his taxidermy office. So yeah, let's see here. That eye's pretty clean. I'm pretty happy with that. That'll all boil up nice. That'll boil up pretty nice. Oops, sorry. Hope that wasn't too loud. Trim this extra meat off. I say if I can reach it, I'm gonna try to cut it off. And if I'm lucky here, I think I can actually throw this one in and do three skulls. Generally, it takes me about an hour to do one skull or one head, beginning to finish on the skinning and fleshing. Then usually, like I said, I want to say it takes about another hour and a half worth of boiling, which I'll pull it out after the initial 45, and then it'll be another doing it in like blocks of 15 to 30 minutes to keep boiling off more stuff after I scrape it the first time. Each time it'll be just bring it in, pick it up or pick it off a little bit, and then take it back out and resubmerge it in the boiling water. This is looking pretty good, not gonna lie. Get the back of the skull a little bit more, and I'm gonna go check my water. And see if it's boiling. If it's boiling, I want to reduce it to more of a simmer so it doesn't boil over. And then start putting deer skulls in. And that is spinal fluid. Sticky stuff. But yeah. I'll give this a rinse once I get these brains scrambled. So step outside real quick, take a look-see. And see where I'm at on that. But yeah, if this goes well, I'll invest in a little bit more. Right now I'm just streaming off my iPad. Boiling? No. Okay, let's crank this up a little bit then. Boil, baby, boil. Sorry for the sniffles. It is a cheery, as our friends to the east say. Very, very cheery. All right. Now comes the brains. Oh, get this little piece of cheek meat. So for the brains, it's pretty primitive, but works. I'm gonna take a screwdriver, a junky screwdriver, reach it up in the cavity, the base of the skull. That was a spinal column, and scrape it around. Try to bust that up. It usually busts up pretty easy to like a, I don't know, cottage cheese texture. Then I'll put a plastic bag over it with an air hose, give it a shot of air, and it will blow all that out the hole into the plastic bag. And ta-da, brain be gone. All right, it's not looking half bad. Take it over to the sink and give it a rinse. See if I can clean some of the dirt off of the base of those horns, or antlers, excuse me, not horns. Rinsey, rinsey, rinse. There's a bunch of hair from me scraping that off. All right. I don't have to worry about getting hair all over everything still. Cool. Brain time. Plastic bag. So yeah. This is your brain. Right in there in this pocket. This is your brain on a screwdriver. All I'm going to do is just kind of stir it up and scrape it because, again, it has that membrane that coats it, sticks to the inside of the skull, and the more I can get by doing this, the less work I have to do later. It is kind of sounds like you're stirring mac and cheese. All right, gross. Grab my air hose, figure out where Padre put the air nozzle. The only bad thing is, like, I wouldn't have any of this opportunity without my dad. But also, sharing the space means that if I set something somewhere, it's not going to be there when I come back the next time. So now, plastic bag over the back of the skull, poke a hole, blow the air. Yuck. And now we have a nice pink cottage cheese. Ooh, that is gnarly. Yeah. Take that all off. Fatty, greasy. I guess the old way, I think one of the old ways at least that they could tan hides was by using brain somehow. I have not done that. We actually just use like tanning solution. But the more you know. And now again, I don't have to get this absolutely clean. It will boil off. Kind of looks like yogurt. So we give this a rinse again over the sink. And this head is done. Except for I'll take some packaging tape or electrical tape, run around the base of these antlers so that it helps keep some of the oil and head juice off of it. It's decently clean, I guess. Take my little wire brush. I don't like using a wire brush, I feel like it hurts it. Hard plastic brush. Brush the little burls off of the base of the skull, or at the base of the antler. It's got a bunch of dirt, tree bark stuck to it. Get that cleaned up a bit. Bada bing, bada boom. We taken care of. Cool. Dump the water out of the brain case. There's a chunk of something up in there still. Oh, it'll boil out. Get it with 4 steps later. Alrighty, cool. Well, that's one head successfully done. Only like 11 more to go. It kind of sucks taking time away from the family to come do this, but it pays well. I think Dad's charging 90, so anywhere from 70 to 90 a head, depending on who you go to. But people keep going to Dad, even though he's charging 90. And like I said, I know some people, maybe not in this like exact area, will go 70 up further in New York. But like I said, people still come to Dad, so he must be doing something right. So I'm gonna keep doing it that same way. Get a little bit more of this meat trimmed off of here. I'll go grab another head, and we'll take it from looking like a deer to looking like a skull. Cool. All right. Unfortunately, it's not like this is survivalist type stuff. It's just taxidermy, trophy. I don't even like calling it trophy hunting. The trophy hunting sounds gross. They're not hunting for. Like you're looking, you'd like to get a trophy whenever you're out hunting, but at the end of the day, like I said, everybody around here, if they kill it, they're eating it. I don't dislike venison, but that's dang near all we ate growing up because we were so poor. We kill about 7 deer a year, and then that was the majority of what we ate, which was, I said, not the worst, but it's a very lean meat, and so there's not a ton you can do with it. That like fat has a lot of flavor, right? Like if you look at beef, Wagyu, Kobe, whatever, you have a lot of marbling of fat in that meat, and that's where a lot of flavor comes from. Well, venison still has a distinct flavor, but it is a very lean meat, which means that if you want to make something like people will make breakfast sausage out of it, unless you mix it with pork, it's going to have a very different flavor. There we go. Now, I think that's dang near about as clean as I'm going to get this head, honestly. Cool. This can go wait in the garage. Oh, no, tape. Where is the packaging? I swear I just saw it earlier. I was looking for a lighter. If I can't find it, I'll just use a black electrical tape again. That works pretty well. It's just, yeah, adhesive and crap. You got to get off it afterwards. Yeah, screw it. I'll just do that. Some people will do like hydro dipping the deer skull. I don't generally like the way that looks. Like they'll take it and submerge it in like camo coating, almost like a racing helmet or stuff for guns. And I always think it just kind of looks cheesy. My family tried the I love my family. I love them, but sometimes they will do half measures on weird things for people who like pride themselves on not doing half measures. And they were like, oh, well, we'll try dipping it. And I think all they did was like suspend paint in water. And I feel like it definitely didn't come off the right way. But instead of spending the money on like a whole setup that you need for hydro dipping, that's what they decided to try. I don't think they've really done it since, which is fine with me because, like I said, I think actual hydro dipping looks cheesy, let alone half-assing it. All right, snap that off. Cool. Make sure everything looks right. Now, I don't expect there to be a ton of people chatting or a bunch of stuff going on. I just figured I'd throw it up. And beats me just sitting here by myself doing nothing or not talking to anyone. Last time I talked to a coworker, and that wasn't the worst, but I talked to him a lot. So I'm okay with not talking to him for 3 hours straight. All right, water, boil. Make sure my gas turned up as much as it can go here. All right, my gas is pretty pretty high, so I don't want it to overflow and put out that little fire underneath. All right, next head. Well, actually, I'll clean up some of these scraps. My meaty gloop. Fat eyeballs. Lower jaw. All right, cool. But yeah, I don't know if this works out to be the, like, if it could ever be like a full-time job and actually make ends meet the way that a normal 9 to 5 might. But as far as extra cash goes, it's not half bad, and it's not the worst thing in the world to be doing. Take this jaw, and away she goes into the scrap box. Whew. Okay. Skull number 2, which I'll go with. Well, this one looks easy. I'll do this one. My dad usually he'll text me and go, huh, Dad, another euro, another 2 European mounts. Okay, works for me. You guys cut this one off really close. This deer has a wart or a tumor next to its eye. Interesting. Almost looks like a piece of sausage off of a pizza. Yeah, that couldn't have been comfortable. See right there? That should not be there. Should look like this. Doing an autopsy. All right. What I will do first is I will go use the facilities, because this beer is hitting bottom. And unmuted. But yeah, I don't know where old StreamYard seemed to get its numbers from. So I'm like, just out of curiosity, let me pull things up. I don't even know if Twitter shows concurrent viewers or, yeah. All right. Let's see. Get this other one skinned partially before I throw those heads in. So even after they're skinned, I can kind of stop whenever, except for whenever or once they get boiled. Once they're boiled, you're on a little bit of a time to hurry up, get them into, or get them wrapped with bleaching solution. And then once they start bleaching, it doesn't really matter. I think you usually let them bleach for like 12 or 24. And then we can commenced the staining, and they're staining the horns or antlers. I keep saying horns. Staining the antlers. Washing all the bleaching solution, which is now dried, off of them. Putting a hanger in the back and spraying the skull with like clear coat to keep it safe. Woo. Yeah, I figured I would try streaming to X because I haven't been super on YouTube lately, just with all the stuff that I'm currently up to. Unfortunately, making YouTube videos kind of fell to the wayside. And since I can't be on Facebook now, and last time I made it like 6 hours before I was banned, even though I didn't do anything. I'd like to keep trying to grow my X follower count so that whenever I start into making comic books, there will be some people who might be interested in buying them. What's up, Finn? No, Finbar, it is not murder porn. It is taxidermy work. Taking people's deer that they've shot, peeling the skin off, and making them look like that. Bleached and trophy worthy. And I made a point to look into things and be like, there are videos, right, of people like butchering animals. And like, I'm not going to instantly get banned because of this stuff. So, nope, it looks fine as long as I don't stare or I don't dwell on any of the bloodier, nastier bits, which I don't intend to do anyhow, because if it's not fun to watch, it's also not exactly fun to be currently doing. So far, the most blood there's been was, I think that last one had a little bit up in the nasal cavities, and then I stabbed myself in the hand. Yes, they are eating it. We have, as I've said before, is I'm like, I don't even like saying like, oh, it's a trophy, because it makes me think of trophy hunting, which just leads into like so you're only shooting it for what's on its head, not what it actually is, right? And no, around here, if people are like, obviously you would like to shoot something that's worth mounting, like large 10s, 12s, even 9s. Most people wouldn't mount an 8-point. They're eating it. They're always going to be eating it. Like, this is all I grew up eating is venison. Like burger, hamburger, any type of beef was kind of a treat, because my family would literally purchase 7 tags from the government for hunting and kill 7 deer, which most people who do hunt think that I'm full of crap whenever I say that, but literally, I think it's how we like kept from starving. Is we dads always enjoyed and liked hunting. I grew up hunting, and it was the main way we supplemented our diet and income. And then got into, Dad did taxidermy as long as I can remember, on and off. And I did skinning, fleshing, tanning of hides. Like, so the one day I just had like a weird moment where I went, wait a minute, I can legitimately say that I've sold fur to a fur trader, because I had a bunch of raccoon hides that I had tanned and stretched, and raccoon went up. Like, the price of raccoon went up. Usually it's trash because they're not exactly hard to get. You have like fox and stuff like that that's worth a lot more. It's harder to actually get in good condition and large volume. But yeah, raccoon went up in price for whatever reason. I don't know what the hell they were using it for, and I was able to sell it, and I forget, I think I got a couple $100. And for, I don't know, I think that was maybe 13 at the time. That was a lot of money to suddenly have dropped on you. But it was also how a couple winters worth of work essentially saved up. So, but getting in touch with mountain man roots, kind of the way I grew up idolizing. Dad always loved archery hunting. So we did a lot of archery hunting with a bow. And then also flintlock. Basically, I said it's just kind of a mountain man thing where you're like, I get to be in touch with my roots. And so flintlock muzzleloader. And then rifle was essentially just kind of seen as a, do you really need meat? Okay, you can use the rifle. It's not, if you're a half decent shot, it's not exactly the biggest challenge in the world. I also say that probably kind of flippantly for some people who, I don't want to discount anyone who was like, man, I've been rifle hunting all my life. I've never shot anything. Like, oh, I'm sorry. All right, probably about time for me to change scalpel blades. This is starting to get to be a bit of a chore to get this fleshed out. I'm just about ready to take this ear off. But no, this is the main thing that I've been busy having to do because it's seasonal work. Deer season, or I think rifle will be ending not too long, and then we have after Christmas muzzleloader, and then it pretty much will have dried up. Most people won't be hunting. I'm trying to get these, like, A, get paid, B, get them processed out of here for people to get their trophy back, and for Dad to have space in his taxidermy shop again. So I'm just trying to hurry up, get some of these knocked out. And then in the mornings have been my time to color Fabulous Frogman or do any extracurricular drawing. Poke his tongue back in the mouth. Boop. Skin out this lower lip and jaw. I'm hoping that my water is boiling outside so I can get these skulls boiling. But I don't exactly want to be here until 7 o'clock at night working on these heads. All right. I am going to check my water just out the door. See where we're at. Is it boiling? Almost, not quite. All right, back to work. Get this peel down and get this other ear. I'll slice myself. Get this other ear done. I can remove that lower jaw. I have 3 heads now to go in to the pot outside to boil. And that will let me be able to pick a lot of meat and extra gooey bits off I wasn't able to trim off. Swap the other copies. Yeah, triple take face off too. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's always an option, isn't it? I don't know where the heck I would get a cow face though. Is there really, like, I'm in northern PA, not that you probably, I don't know how much you know about Pennsylvania agriculture, but there's not like a whole heck of a lot of farming up here because it gets so darn cold. Like right now we're going to get hit, like the weekend to the beginning of this week, we got 8 inches dumped on us in 2 days. And it looks like we're gearing up for another 8 inches of snow getting dumped on us between tonight and tomorrow. So I'm just trying to get this hammered out. But yeah, it was always kind of annoying because we had garden growing up to help supplement our income. Grew a crap ton of things like tomatoes and broccoli. I think the one year mom accidentally forgot and thought she didn't order broccoli plants, so she ordered like a dozen. She's like, "Oh, we need a dozen," and she forgot that she had already ordered some. So we end up with 2 dozen broccoli plants, which was holy way too much broccoli for us. So we end up freezing and vacuum packaging and all that crap. I'm like, I like broccoli, but that was a lot of broccoli. It's not something that you harvest once and it's done. All right. Trim, trim, trim. But yeah, up here, there's not a lot of. We just don't have the weather for that stuff, and like it's very hilly because we're kind of just off the northern end of Appalachia, the Appalachian Mountains. So there's not. It's just a lot of hills, and it's not real conducive to having livestock. Like there's some people in our valley that have horses, but again, horses are kind of more of a money suck, in my opinion. It's not like you're gonna butcher them. There we go. All right. Peel this down, hit the teeth, and keep on going. How's your day going, Finbar? Super fun and exciting. Mine started at about 4 a.m. Whenever the child woke up and needed fed. And I'm like, man, I just have not been able to get any time for any type of art stuff. Just because whenever I've been home, it's been either taking care of stuff around the house or watching the kids so that Erin could get things done and prep for Christmas. She's doing baked goods for people for Christmas presents, because not like we're not super wealthy, and most people in our family either have everything that they want or they specifically told us, don't worry about it, you just had a baby. So yeah, here we go. Trim, trim, trim. So most of my time has been spent watching the kids to make sure they don't fight with each other or unalive themselves. So I woke up at 4 a.m. to get a little bit of drawing done. I wanted to draw some stuff that could go for my daughter's quote unquote green comic book that she said that she wanted. So yeah. Skeleton Crew. I don't know what Skeleton Crew is. Preparing for further deployment. Yeah, fair. Fair. All right. But yeah. So life is going good over here. Just busy, busy, busy. Lots of crap to do. Some of it enjoyable, like coloring pages, and other things not so much. Oh, Star Wars. Okay, I know the name of that then. I'm guessing that's gonna be a Disney Plus thing, right? I think the last things that I was watching on there, because we don't have Disney Plus. We were like we had it for like a little bit on and off. I think I was trying to watch some like of the Clone Wars stuff, the animated series. The Mandalorian we watched, which the first season I liked. I was like, yeah, this is pretty good. Like it's kind of felt like a spaghetti western, but in space. But then I don't know, just somewhere along the line, just there was nothing that made me go, ooh, this is bad. I hate it. But there was a lot of like, I don't know why I'm watching this. I don't know why I care. It's not that interesting and gripping. So it just ended up being we would default to, which again, we thought we were watching with the kids, we were just watching by ourselves. My daughter's a little too young for watching that stuff just yet. But we just end up watching anime or some comfort show on Netflix instead. So it's kind of like why waste the money on Disney Plus? We're not even gonna watch it. This fatty part above the ear. Open it up to get that jaw off. Yeah, figured I'd just try streaming because I don't know, we'll talk about making comics in the indie scene and Comicsgate, that you need to build a channel, build a brand, and the best way to do that, at least according to Gary V, was to just make content. And I'm like, man, most of my life is not that interesting. And it's not like I'm going to turn a camera on and go, watch me hold my infant and fend off my toddler attempting to bomb me. So I was like, well, I'm going out to sit at mom and dad and work on the taxidermy stuff. They have Elon internet. I might as well at least see if I can stream and have people potentially pop by that I can say hey to, versus just listening to a book or an audio book or music and not be talking to one for 3 hours. And I said, I'm claiming this is educational because I am talking about what I'm doing. But I said, just kind of put it out there. Give folks a chance to come in and say hi and to know me a little bit, or look at what I'm spending my time doing. This is not like I can exactly stream coloring pages and not spoil stuff. Let's see if my water's boiling yet. I really need that stinking pot to boil. As soon as it starts to boil, I can actually get to the next process for the other deer heads I have. I think there's 4 or 5 still in the freezer. There's 4 or 5 more in the freezer in the garage. Plus, yeah, I think there's 3 that need boiled plus this one. So, and each process takes at least an hour, and there's like 3 processes per head. So yeah, watch the pot kettle never boils, but I need this thing to freaking boil. All right, buddy. You have a fantastic day and enjoy watching the show with your kiddo. I will be here chopping up a deer head. That's just about ready for me to remove this lower jaw. Just about. Right, check my pot. See if he's boiling yet. Come on, be boiling. Oh, for the love. No, it's practically there. Crank it up a little bit more. I want this dang thing to boil, man. Dang old boiling, man. All right. Get this lower jaw removed. Crank this thing's mouth open so I can cut these muscles. Yeah, it's been nice just having the occasional visitor pop by and say hey. Got some buddies from over on X to stop in. Fellow artiste over on YouTube. There we go. That's what I wanted to happen with that jaw. Apparently, second time was the charm. First one did not go near this easily. Way more work. And it looks like these guys cut this one close enough. I don't have to remove that. Yeah. Piece of spinal column. There we go. Ta-da! Lower jaw, gone. Done and dusted. We're cruising on this one. Nice. I'm happy with that. All right. Back to the trimming the meats. Oh, trimming the meat. Alrighty. Yeah, I don't expect people to stick around for a long period, but yeah, if you stop by and you happen to hear me talking, go ahead and leave a comment or say hi in the chat. I try to pay attention. I don't go on usually too long a tangents without glancing. It's just mostly on if StreamYards decides to give me the comments or not. Earlier, I was only seeing 2 comments and a bunch backfilled like an hour later between the 2 that I saw. So apologies if I do ever miss you, but I'm not trying to. I just think that every now and then, with all the weird drama that happens on the internet, that sometimes it's just kind of nice to unplug and work on something. Like, I find internet drama interesting. Like if anyone that stops by doesn't know what Comicsgate and the indie comics is, it's just a community of people who are against censorship and want to be able to stay true to original characters and provide alternatives with indie comics where available. A lot of the creators are either fans who are kind of fed up with the way that things have been going with woke entertainment, or were comic book professionals that were canceled or just stopped receiving work, which tends to be kind of a auspicious way of getting rid of folks. But yeah, there's always like it's a niche of a niche of a niche, right? Like there's not a lot of people in this space. Like indie comics in general, like comics is small. Indie comics even smaller. Kind of conservative, right-wing indie comics even smaller. And I see it kind of like church in that because of it, people look around and they go, well, you wouldn't choose to be here, right? So you must be here because you're like similar to me or a like-minded person. And you're like, I'm pretty normal. So, or in theory, it's the guy hacking on deer heads. And so you end up going, hey, I'm pretty normal. They must be pretty normal too. And then you realize that, no, they just have gotten sifted down into this fandom and probably were run out of other ones because they're kind of nuts. And I find drama amusing, like especially since I don't really stream a lot and I haven't created my own comic book yet. I'm just working on learning and work for hire type work. But then you see some of these people that's like, man, is this your full-time job that you're just so horribly invested in this? Like if it is, okay, so be it. But own it, right? and be able to unplug and go, maybe I shouldn't be calling and texting people to get them involved in online drama BS. Like, live a real life. It's okay. You're allowed to do that. I probably need to check my water again. Maybe next time I'll join with my camera or my phone and be able to just be like, hey, let's go outside, take a look-see. You can be involved in this too. This was literally a last second thing where my last day of work, I work over the weekends. I was like trying to figure out how better ways to like grow a channel, market yourself. I was listening to Gary Vaynerchuk on one of his audiobooks. I forget which one it is. Maybe Crushing It or Crush It or something. And or day trading. I think it was the day trading attention. But he was like, hey, I'm a big proponent of just like make content, make something, put it out there. And while I've always thought that it was awkward to be like, let me film this entire my life all the time because I'm so important. Like, I like watching like video game developers do stuff and stream, or like watching replays. I actually don't catch that many streams live. So why not stream me working on taxidermy work? Like, I'll watch clips and videos of people doing hoof trimming. Why not this? All right, go check that boiler again. Come on, water, be boiling. I know it's like 20 degrees out, but come on. Hell yeah, it's boiling, finally. I can move this piece of plywood to block the wind. Get these last couple skulls all wrapped up with tape. And away we go. I can go drop these bad Larrys in the water. All right, I got 3 skulls to boil. Where is the packing tape? Guess worst comes to worst, I can grab the packing tape that I used to ship stuff today. I was selling some Magic the Gathering cards on TCG Player. It's in here. Where the hell is that tape at? I swear I just saw it. I haven't been out here quite enough to know where Dad stores everything yet. Bunch of clear coat. That'll be helpful later. Things that make you go, Son of a gun. I do not know where he has that setting at. Nope, that's duct tape. Don't want to use that. Can't imagine the mess that would make. I guess I will go grab the wine on my car. I'll be right back. Get my microphone off. All right, right back. Alrighty. Pick my microphone back up. Alright, I want to packaging tape this tag in place. We're going to work on a better system of keeping skulls separate. But for right now, the best way we have of doing it is just keeping the tag on the antler. So just gonna put this up a little bit and attempt to wrap this in some, I think Dad usually went backwards and then he went around it again. Just trying to keep this tape, or keep this tag from getting all wet and covered in gunk. Alrighty, we'll give her a little flippy dip. Wrap it the right direction. Trying to keep this tag from getting all wet whenever I go to boil it, and keep the tag with the European mount so that hopefully we'll still know whose it is at the end of the day. I'm gonna just use my scalpel to poke it. Boop. Ouch, cool. I missed the tape, got myself. Okay, well, that's the second time I stabbed myself today. Whatever. Alright, that's that one. Then this is an old one from the last time that I was out. Yeah, again, anyone, thank you for stopping by, whether you're on YouTube or X, or I appreciate you just giving me a looky-loo. And if you say hey, well, I appreciate you giving me someone to talk to, so I don't feel completely like a crazy person talking to myself the whole time. But if you're just lurking or clicking in and clicking away, still appreciate you. It's fun to put something out there. I like being creative. I like being a creative person. And I definitely wouldn't mind doing some more streaming. And it wouldn't all just be there. There's skull number 2 taken care of. That'll get boiled up soon. Oh wait, nope, no, it's not done yet. I need to. This needs rinse actually. Hit with a brush. I think maybe Dad finished that one. This one's done. Cool. He didn't even get the near as well as I did. What the heck? If you're gonna do it right. Alright, I almost need to go on a little extra. Alright, these need rinsed. And then the antlers need taped up. Now, rinsing is just so that the water isn't quite as dirty. Hopefully that'll allow everything to, the bone to bleach and the antlers to stay brown and not stained. You get stained with oil and clean them up. I'll probably be wrapping this up once my dad gets home from work, so that he can come in and chat with me and you're not bored by it. Yeah, this has been nice to just kind of have something a little bit different. Be able to get my, there we go, mic back where it needs to be. Have something. My davy broke up a little bit. I got all these skulls that need boiled off. We'll see if maybe I can get a lapel mic for next time. I think I have one, but it's not charged and I've never used it before, so I don't know if it's just going to be absolute garbage whenever it comes for quality. Actually, this burl is still nasty. Slaughterhouse. Howdy. Yeah, old apple pits, clown fist. Well, this is the taxidermy shop. What I'm currently doing for some extra money. So yeah, it's this is everybody else's animals, not mine. But yeah, it's it has been, it's one of those things where my dad's always done it. I never, sorry, I'm off camera, just cleaning this bottom of the skull. I knew he did it. I would watch him do it, but I never really took the time to learn. And I always knew it was one of those things where I didn't want it to become lost knowledge. That always ticks me off if, like, someone goes, yeah, your grandfather used to know how to do that. And you're like, really? That's cool. So did you learn how to do it? Well, no. I say, oh, okay. Well, did anybody learn how to do it? Well, no. I'm like, man, like, if you know how to play an instrument, like, I hope there's someone in your life who wants to know how to learn how to play one too. So it just doesn't, your knowledge doesn't end with you. Like, it gets passed on and improved on. So I always knew this was something I wanted to learn how to do, but it just wasn't always feasible, nor did I fully have all the attention for it. Like, it's one of those deals where for a while there I was a little too ADHD to looking at girls, so now I have the time for it. Oh, well, I appreciate it, man. It's just one of those things where this is what I grew up doing, right? Like, my family was very poor, but I didn't fully know it. I just knew that I got told no a lot. So we would kill about 7 deer a year. That's what they were. They're there to be eaten. Like, you admire them. I look at these animals and I see something that God created and I respect it. But they're also made of tasty meat, so I'm going to eat them. And kind of grew up eating a lot of deer meat just to kind of get by, and then idolizing kind of the old West, mountain men, trappers, stuff like that. So yeah, survival. Well, I say, unfortunately, this isn't quite the like survivalist type thing, right? Because this is for someone's trophy. Like, they're eating it. And that's what I was just saying to my buddy Finbar whenever he popped in. I'm like, people around here, if they kill something, they're eating it. It's not a trophy in the sense of, I saw it, it looked cool, let me kill it, and then I just cut the head off it. Like, everyone around here that I know of that runs in our circle and that Dad would ever do work for, they like, we respect the animal, we respect the craft and the history of hunting. So it's something that, like, I grew up knowing, I grew up doing. Whenever you say that, but, like, it's not, I know that it probably comes off as maybe a little bit flippant, but, like, it was just a way of life out here. Like, I live in the middle of a national forest. My family only really has internet because of Starlink and Elon Musk. And if it wasn't for that, they had crappy Verizon internet that was, like, essentially just it was DSL, like a step up from old dial-up. But Verizon was like, hey, there's not enough people that live in your valley for it to be worth us, like, keeping it up. So if you ever lose service through us, you're not getting it back. Also, you don't, we're not going to keep it up. So your service is only going to get worse. And it was to the point that there's, like, old people down the road from us that I would do work for who were like, yeah, they tried calling 911 because they're having a medical emergency and it just didn't go through. And they said it was so people who were, like, volunteer firefighters around here and stuff, right? They get the cell phone repeaters and set them up at their house. And they're like, if you ever need something, get in your car, get here and call with your cell phone because your landline doesn't work. Oh yeah, also, no cell service. So I was like, screw it. Let's try streaming and just be online and let people stop by and say, hey, because if not, it's literally just me here until probably 2:30 Eastern time. So probably 20 20 minutes to an hour, people will start coming home. So I'll probably finish it up then because I don't know that they're okay with them popping through. But oh yeah, oh dude, you're telling me I drew a just for funsies a Wendigo. I'm not a great artist still, but I'm like I have this imprinted in my brain. Like I've been skinning animals and butchering animals since I can remember. Pretty much, even if we were too young to use a sharp knife, my dad would give us a butter knife to poke at stuff. It was always just like hamburger meat or something. So you just poke at it with a butter knife to feel like you were doing something. I'm gonna step off camera because I have to go put these heads in a boiling pot of water. But then I will be right back because it is literally right outside the door that's at the corner of the frame. All right. And the heads go into that water. I need to lower that temperature a little bit on this water. Onesie. I don't know if I'm going to fit all three in here, actually. This pot is large, but these deer heads are also quite large. All right, let's see here. But yeah, no, I grew up all around this stuff. Like, I'm sure that even to my wife, like, it just seems like a very foreign concept, but it's always been like, hey, if you want money, you got to find ways to make money in the valley. So you're doing grunt work or skinning animals for people. Like I actually have sold pelts to a fur trader before. So it's just one of those things that grew up without a lot of money, and I swear I've been like 5'11", 6 foot, and 185 pounds my entire life. Now I'm significantly heavier than that, unfortunately. So, but it was just grunt work. It's like, hey, you're a big dude. You can go dig ditch for someone, do roofing, asphalt, whatever. But yeah, I'm just glad that I'm getting a chance to learn this now. So unfortunately, Dad doesn't have any mounts around right now, but he's got like his skunk skin hat, all kinds of various skulls and animals. But yeah, he's been doing this for a long time. He does a very good job at it, even though I know that I'm biased. But whenever other taxidermists are having you do it for them, and you're not exactly the cheapest game in town, so well, that's what I said. I'm like, I did a lot. That doesn't gross me out. I said, grew up around this stuff, so that helps with it a lot. And then the fact that I'm getting paid fairly decently to do this also turns it into a, hey, you want to get paid? Shut up and do it. So just, it's not exactly the most pleasant thing in the world. It's not like I want to, in my spare time, be doing this stuff, but I've done it before. It's interesting to learn and work on and get better at. It pays pretty darn well. I'd get like, it takes about an hour to take them from looking like Bambi to turning them into a skull. And then about another hour and a half to boil them, pick all the fat and meat and stuff off of them. And then it's just like kind of an overnight to bleach them. And I get paid like $90 per head. So it's not the worst money for sure. Have breakfast. Yeah, I mean, that's fair. That's what I said. I'm like, even my wife, like, I'll tell her this stuff, and she grew up in southern Jersey, very much a beach bum baby. Her family, like, she didn't quite have a silver spoon or anything, but her dad has been making far more than my family for a long time. So it's just kind of one of those things that I'll tell her something and she's just like, what? I'm like, it's just the way it is. or I'll have to explain certain things to her. It's like, yeah, this is what's going to happen next, and you just have to understand that it's just the way that it is. But like, I tried to look in and be like, hey, are there videos of people butchering animals on YouTube? Like, so I don't get banned right off the bat, is I want to be able to make comics and stuff in CG at some point. So I want to grow a channel. So I need to make some content, and I might as well. I'm just out here by myself. Like, give people the chance to stop in and say hi. And I'm like, well, I'll just not glorify any of like the nastier stuff. Like right now, I'm working on removing an eyeball from the socket. I'm not really going to show it, so but you can kind of guess what would be involved in that. And honestly, most of the stuff is pretty darn near bloodless. Like, the animal was hung upside down and field dressed. The head was removed, and like, I mean, there's like a little bit of nose in the blood in the nose because it probably was shot in the lungs. But yeah, you talk about autopsies. I can't imagine doing this on a person. Like, again, I'm sure that at a certain point you just have to, like, it takes a special breed of person, but also at a certain point it's just kind of like this isn't a person, it's a sack of meat. And but I still think it would jack me up. And I was wanting to go into law enforcement for a long time, so I was trying to prepare myself for what I could potentially see. All right. Eyeball removed. And yeah, so I was looking around, I'm like, hey, there are people showing, like, educational purposes. This is how we field dress a deer. Here's how you skin this animal. Here's how you may harvest this one. So I'm like, all right, well, it's not like I'm, like, honestly, that stuff's a lot more gory than this is. So I was like, well, I figure I'm probably safe, especially if I'm not zooming in and being like, look at me, poke this thing in the eye. Like, I'm just cleaning what's facing towards me, and I'll show things along the way, like, I removed the eye. It's just an empty socket now. And I'm going to do my best to get all this meat cleaned off, and then whenever it boils up, it's just going to smell like an unseasoned stew, because that's essentially what it turns into. It's just cooked meat, boiled water, and some fat floating around in it. But it's kind of funny talking to people here in CG and the indie comic scenes. I don't even know that many are. But there's a lot of us that are kind of the blue collar, like, grew up in the woods, hunting fish, that ended up also getting into artsy stuff, which I think is pretty funny, because it was like something that was for a long time kind of oppressed, of like, listen, son, why are you wasting your time doing drawing stuff that, like, you're never going to go anywhere with that? So spend your time doing grunt work for the neighbor to make some money, which wasn't wrong. But that also means that now I'm 31 and going, let me learn how to draw. But yeah, you are right, where it's like, it's not the glorifying gore. It's just kind of keep like the situation. I don't know. I don't think they have deer in Australia. Now they have things like oh, I guess Liam did live in New Jersey for a while, so I don't know, maybe. Like, I think they make, I think he was making it sound like I think maybe they have cattle, or maybe that was a while ago. I've spent so much time listening to Comicsgate videos, because I work a 12-hour a day job that allows me to have an earbud in, and I'm there on the weekends from 6 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So I listen to stuff all the time, live streams, whatever, and old videos. I swear Liam said something before about having cows or beef. So I don't know if they still do, but he still talks about the farm. But he never really, I don't think he's went into great detail recently, and I don't know if that's because of privacy or what, but I swear he said that he had cattle. So I'm sure he knows how to butcher animals, and it would just be scaling it to the deer. But yeah, it's just been nice having people stop by and say hey and give me something a little bit more to do than just listening to music and being alone. It's like, it'll be nice to be home and see my family, but things have also been kind of stressful lately, and I don't know. I never want to make it sound like woe is me or my life's tough, but I was just thinking recently, I'm like, so my wife has me to help her out with the kids and housework and making money, but she's a stay-at-home mom, so like there's nobody really to help me with making extra cash. So it's just kind of a stressful situation, and it's nice to be able to work on something and that's tangible right in front of me and go, look at what I've done. I can see it looked like this, now it looks like that, and eventually it'll look like that, all nice and white and pearly, and I'll get paid for it, and somebody will, in theory, be happy with the work that I've done. But yeah, I saw you were on with Johnny Scab the other night, so I was in the chat some, and I think he put a clip up of you singing and playing your guitar. That was pretty funny. That is, I had a guitar for a short time in college, but I don't know, it didn't quite click with me, and I don't think invest the time the way I should have to truly learn it. So all I could really do was like crank up some distortion and bang on it, and occasionally be like, wow, that sounded kind of cool. All right, I think that eye socket's just about clean. I'm just going to try to get some more of this fatty, meaty stuff off it and get some of this cartilage out of the nose, because once that hits the hot water, it essentially just turns into one giant, like, jello booger. And if I can do more work now, so I have to do less work once it's all cooked up and whatnot, then I will do so. It's always fun to experiment. I like learning new things, right? Like, even at my work, right now I do a CNC milling and machining, like we make knives and stuff. So I was kind of plateaued, and my work didn't seem very interested in, like, they would make promises of, oh, well, we'll move you up, you can learn more, but they never actually act on it. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to start looking for another job, because the pay was good for this area, but I'm like, I'm not learning anything, and I get so bored whenever I'm not learning anything. Thankfully, they finally were like, hey, we're going to start training you on more stuff, and gave me some assurances. So I'm like, good, I can finally actually add some more skills. Oh yeah, we definitely do. Like, it's a fine line, right, with getting rid of scraps. So like for the wildlife, you don't ever want to dump anything that isn't biodegradable, like animal product. So we always try to make sure that we keep plastic bags or paper or anything like that away from it. Even though paper would be, you just like it, you get in trouble for dumping that crap. And we'll go dump it off for like the coyotes and bobcat and stuff to eat all the extra meat scraps. As if not, like, then you're stuck with rotting animal in your trash bag, which is disgusting. And B, yeah, like, I don't know, let wildlife and nature get something out of it still. All right. A little extra fat. Like, admittedly, there's probably a lot of this you could probably like eat yourself if it was fresh. Like, it's all just meat, or you could give the dogs or something. But My dog would probably have explosive diarrhea because he's a weirdo with a sensitive stomach. Trim some more of this off. And yeah, that's another one. So I think I have 2 more deer heads in our refrigerator that need cut up. The other ones are all frozen still, and that is no bueno for cutting up. Then I've got here in probably 30 minutes, I got to go check the heads I have boiling because can't really see it too well more than this one, but there's a seam with the bones in the deer's head like this. And if it boils for too long, this whole section will just kind of separate and fall into the water, which isn't a big deal, but you have to glue it back on. And again, why make extra work for yourself when you don't have to? You can just do it right the first time. Yeah, that's fair. Like I say, I'm like scrap stuff. Like if we have scrap food, usually I'll try to give it to our dog. If it's like vegetables and stuff, I'll go put it over in the weeds. Like as we have about 4 acres, and I'm surrounded by national forests, so we get lots of visitors. The only thing that's ever a pain is if I don't have my trash bag locked up, we will have black bear show up and drag it off, or rip it open, which is such a massive mess. All right, I think that's that one. Cool. I'll go get another head. But yeah, we're supposed to. Yeah, my dad has killed 7 black bear, maybe 8 now. Several with the bow, a couple with rifle. I think in this area, the largest that's been killed has been 500 pounds. Black bear are kind of funny, right? So like usually whenever you think bear, you think like grizzly or like scary. But more often than not, the black bear's just as startled or scared by you, and so they'll just get out of dodge. But like if they're a trash bear, they're used to coming down by houses, which just kind of puts them into more contact with people. And one time we had friends visiting with their van, and the bear, for whatever reason, put his paws up on their hood and was like looking around, and then he skedaddled. But yeah, no, I say only stuff with like brown bear, black bear, or a grizzly. Like, yeah, I wouldn't wanna fuck with that. Like black bear can be big, but they're just almost like giant raccoons. All right, here's some more fat. So now, what do I have left on this one? I have to wash it, clean the bases of the antlers, and I gotta remove the brains. Brains is pretty simple. Like we've got like your spinal column goes up into the base of the skull, this little hole, and all I really got to do is stick this up in there, stir it up. Just kind of sounds like stirring mac and cheese, and put a plastic bag over it, hit it with an air hose, it all comes out, and then that's clean. Well, as clean as it's gonna get. And then I boil it. If there's any material still up in there, I can reach up in there with forceps and clean it out. Sorry, gruesome, I know. Yeah, it's just like fat. Alrighty. Personally, I would never want to eat this stuff. I know that like there was like, what was it in Indiana Jones? They had like the chilled monkey brains or whatever. I'm like, yeah, nah, I'm good. Like I'm sure it's edible. It might even be good, but like, nah, I'm good. I got enough other things I can eat. Ooh, all right. Well, it made a bigger mess than I wanted it to. Put this over here. I'll give this a good rinse. Over here on the sink. Usually this comes out a lot cleaner than it just did. Get this real quick with my wire brush. Clean that up. Yeah, hopefully if I keep streaming this stuff, I'll get a little bit better set up or figure out the good spots to set the iPad, because right now I'm just streaming off my iPad, which seems to work pretty well, but should probably get a better mic, etc., etc. All right, that's that. Hey, Roji. At least I think it's how you would say that. Oh, you big baby, you're fine. It's me doing it, not you. All I'm doing is explaining what I'm doing whenever I'm butchering this or doing the taxidermy. It's all just meat. Think of it that way. It's all just meat. Just some of the meat is more squishy. Yeah, this has been fun being able to stream and have people stop by and say hey. Okay, let's see here. Hervoye. Hervoye. Interesting. So while you're in here, I gotta ask you. So did you I saw that Mike Barron put you in Bronze Star, or at least your name, I should say, not you. I don't think you're an alcoholic who who went into the mines and beat his wife. But so did you win something? Did you pay for something? Were you ever in his chat, or did he just see your name and write it down sometime and be like, I gotta use that? Hervoye. Okay, I'll try to make sure I do that right. So I have a nice boring name like Ben. Though I don't know. I don't want to. I would assume that he's got a different name, but it might be more normal where you're at, or it might not even be your real name. I don't know. Screen names, right? Clean up this little bit of glop that fell on the floor. This is my father's shop, and I love him and respect him. So why mess it up? All right. That's another skull or another head ready to be boiled and cleaned. And let's see here. But yeah, I just figured I'll stream some stuff. I'll be available. If not, I'd just be sitting here listening to music, doing nothing. Still don't know why he's back. Okay. Yeah, well, I remember watching some of Mike Barron's videos, right? And he would say, sometimes if I see something, I think he's talking about specific words or phrases. He was like, I'll write them down if they're different, because maybe I can use them and I can do something different. And he even said recently about martial arts. I think he was talking to Katie did. And he was like, oh, you want to do something that people don't see. You don't want to he called it, I think, the cop choke out, but it's the rear naked choke in mixed martial arts. He was like, that used to be special, and now everybody does it because it's pretty it's something where it's clear that people can see it and know what's going on, but it's no longer some special move that makes people go, ooh, what was that? That was cool. So he said he did the same thing with words. So I bet he just saw your name and was like, that's a different kind of name. I need to use that as something. I swear I'm a little bit autistic whenever it comes to production of comic stuff, because it's very interesting putting certain things together and going, hey, this person said something way back when about this then. I bet it has something to do with that over there. I read all of The Walking Dead recently, and I know that Ethan said that's one of his favorite comics that he listens or he reads once a year. We'll read through the whole thing, and I feel like some of the character development and the feel of it makes sense whenever then you read the Cyberfrog comics. So it's yeah, this is a post-apocalyptic survival story. That makes sense. And some like the character development. I'm like, I could see how this could, if you swap some things out, you could kind of not interchangeably, but they could be very similar. You didn't like the comic book? I didn't ever see that book. Or what was it? Private American. Yeah. Chris Broley. I don't know him. Chris Braley. I think I've seen some of these names, but like I don't know. People on Twitter are interesting, right? Like everyone goes like, "Oh, Twitter's not real life," but then you have some people who seem to take things way more seriously than others. And whether that's necessarily the case for him or not, I don't know. But yeah, like there's just certain people where I'm like, dude, like this isn't worth it. Or so maybe that said, some people also block because there's like, oh, you seem like an idiot. I'll block you. The actual, was that the actual novel, not the comic book, The Thin Blue Line? I think I remember seeing that recently too. Was that the? No, I'm not gonna just keep throwing out random guesses. Yeah, like I like Mike Barron. I like watching his stuff and I like reading his books, but I'm still relatively new to all of the whole of the CG stuff. I mean, I think I started getting into indie comics here, like I don't know, like a year and a half ago now. Like up until then, I never really read comics. It was my mom made it. I was a good Christian homeschool boy, and my mom made it sound like it was thinly veiled smut and devil worship if you were into comics. So you didn't fuck with that. And I know I said Christian, but unfortunately my main downfall. I don't say my main downfall. One of my downfalls is I really like four-letter words. I spent too much time in the factories and law enforcement fields to not have developed a love for four-letter words, unfortunately. Thankfully, I left the whole law enforcement career field behind because I like being married, and that was not one that was very conducive to it for the way that my marriage and relationship goes. Yep, a new head. Brother, I have like a dozen of these damn things I have to do. I get to take them from Bambi to Skull. But yeah, so much silliness in comic. Yeah, that's what I was like, man, it's just like comics is a niche, right? Like it's just this teeny, is like a drop in a bucket. And then you have indie comics, which is an even smaller subset with even less people in it. And then you have like right-wing, conservative, anti-woke, whatever you want to call it. Like, so Comicsgate is even smaller. And I kind of see it like church, where it's like all right, people, you look at people and you go, oh, well, they chose to be here. And like, surely they must be here because they want to be here, not because they're a cast off and they're weird. And that seems to be the case, is like you get this mixed bag of, well, yeah, you have some people who are fairly normal and are here because it's a community that lines up with their views. And then you have other people that I'm like, yeah, no, you were a reject from somewhere, weren't you? Heads intact? No, they always have to be at least skinned and have the horns cut out, right? So like I'm skinning it, boiling it, and then they'll end up being bleached and looking like this guy. You can get them mounted, which then they have a foam form, which I'm going to turn this. Hopefully it's not too jarring. So this is like a foam form for what you would be mounting the skin to. And then they saw into the top of the head to cut the antlers out with part of the skull. And then this will end up being screwed to here with a skin laid over top, glass eyes, stuff like that. And then I haven't gotten that deep into it, but then that's where my dad would go in and like airbrush the nose, color things up. So getting everything looking better. Yeah. So that's what he has then. Is if there's whole heads, is they're all over that foam form. And that's like the European mount is, depending on where you would go, generally seems to be between like $70 and $100 to have them done. Like this is a nice buck. A European mount makes sense for them. The foam over there, that's like closer to $1,000. So that whole foam form and like all the work that goes into it, I think Dad was charging, depending on the one, like close to $800. So, and like there's a lot more work goes into it, but part of it, like I said, is that foam, is the glass eyes, is everything else that goes into it. And whereas here, I'm just peeling the skin off, cleaning all the gooey bits out, boiling it, scraping it, and bleaching it, and you're good to go. Like I said, it's maybe like if I was doing this, maybe not full time, but like this week I'll have like 4 completely done of these European mounts. Whereas the full like shoulder mount, whatever, and whatever pose that they choose, that's gonna be month, maybe if it was like Dad working on it straight. But if not, into the summer, whatever. So as I say, I'm just trying to clear out space because then Dad has the ability to work on this stuff better and get the larger ticket items taken care of that take longer. Tiger, bear, elephant. Good Lord. Did he kill all of them himself? That is nuts. Like we have a bear in full mount in my parents'. I'll post the pictures on Twitter later. Like this. And it's probably like mid-body up. Then I have a bobcat that I killed that's full body on a rock. There's a bear full body, beaver. Yeah, our house has an insane amount of dead animals in it. That was another thing that I had to prep friends and then my girlfriend, now wife, for, was like, listen, my family has a lot of dead animals hanging in their house. So if you're like not okay with dead animals in the living room, like you probably shouldn't stay over. But yeah, that's what it kind of grew up in the middle of the woods, so this is what we got to work with here. All right, I got to go check my boiling heads and see where we're at on them. How's everything look out here? It's very steamy because it's very cold out. I think right now it is around 20 out. Oops, drop that one a little bit. And it is, this poor boiling water is definitely feeling it. It took a long time to get it boiling. It is not quite ready yet, but I want to make sure I didn't have it too hot. If it gets too hot, the nose will also fall off. Stomach is still, yeah. Well, we're just, like I said, we had our own chickens, so we had to butcher all of them as well. And the meat chickens that we had, like they were specifically like, that breed was bred for meat production. So they get to a certain point and they like stop being able to walk very well, just like us if we get way too fat. But that also meant that they would just kind of lay down in their own crap all the time. So whenever it came time to butcher them, you had to try to clean them off a little bit, but then regardless, whenever you would scald them to pluck them, and again, hot water, shocker, you were just like huffing steamy poop fumes all day and like plucking and gutting chickens. So yeah, I feel like that was by far more traumatizing and gross to me than any of the deer stuff ever was. But yeah, like I said, growing up when you don't know any better, that's what you got, right? I'm sure there's things that are normal to you that if we were hanging out or you were like, here, let me show you what I'm doing today, that I would be like, what the hell am I even looking at? Thankfully, I've gotten to be a bit more worldly in that, like, I moved to Texas and kind of got out of the little town that I've been born and raised in. Like, I came back, but I have been other places. There we go. That all trimmed up. No, I know that they do that, but a lot of times, again, we would sell some of the chickens, and if you let them run around and flop with their head take off, they would bruise up their own meat and like break wings and legs and stuff. And so like it wouldn't affect the meat, but it would look very unsightly. So if you think of like buying or like, you know, like a rotisserie chicken and how it looks a certain way, if the skin, instead of it being white and the meat being pink, was all like purple and green looking, you're just like, that doesn't look good to eat, even though it was just a bruise and then it died. Not like Faces of Death. Yeah, kind of. All right. And after this head, once I get those 3 heads picked off, I will end up putting bleaching compound on them and wrapping them up for overnight. And then I get to go home and see my family. Makes it sound like I'm held hostage, but I swear I'm not. Keep working the skin down. The only thing that I'm not real enthusiastic about on this one is they left a lot more of the trachea in it, which is interesting. This is the first one that I've seen that looked like it had a piece of a vacuum hose sticking out the bottom. Oh, hey, a dead tick. Screw you, tick. I hate ticks. The amount of people that I know that have gotten Lyme's disease from ticks is kind of crazy. Like, I never dealt with it. I had found ticks on myself before, just like crawling, but I never had them actually bite me. Just crush him real quick. Problem solved. kind of nuts. I've had a couple people stop by from noon to 3 p.m. I guess maybe lunch break, but yeah, didn't really expect anyone to drop in. So definitely appreciate all you guys for showing up, especially since it's not like it was a planned thing. I just was like, hell, I should grab stuff. Yeah, definitely, buddy. I will see you later. Be safe out there driving. I think you're in Jersey. I don't think that they are too bad with snow or anything, but regardless, drive safe. And if I'm not on, I'll catch you in a different stream, either in the chat or on stream. See you later, buddy. I will go back to talking to myself and husking out this deer. How many vertebrae did they leave on this head? Hey, God bless you, Apple Pits. Thank you, buddy. All right, keep husking away at this head. Slide this down the nose. Let me start cutting myself. Jim. All right, there we go. Finally got that skin loosened up. I'll take this down to the jaw, to the past the teeth. Careful where my fingers are so I don't actually slip through this skin by the lip and cut my finger. Scalpels are not dull. Alrighty then. I'm hoping that with my work, as I transition into learning more, I will get a chance. I think I'm going to 4 10-hour shifts with a weekend off, which will be nice because I've been working weekends for 3 years, and then swing shift before that, and then night shift 12 before that. So it's been a while since I've had like consistent weekends off, and I miss being involved with weekend plans and going to church, just really doing anything that like a semi-normal schedule has. Like, don't get me wrong, having 4 days off from working 312s, super nice. Like, there's not too many people that can say, hey, I spent more time off than on this week. But so I'm like, the only thing if I could change anything, it'd just be to have the weekends off and have a 4-day weekend every weekend. But it's not exactly something you can just choose, unfortunately. And it's definitely been nice to be able to watch so many or listen to so many other streams and have the time off to practice drawing and coloring, to be able to add more skills to just kind of life. Oh, sounds like my father's home. So I guess I'll probably just wrap the stream up, and I will catch you folks later. Thank you for stopping by, anyone who stopped by. Thank you for commenting and liking, and I don't know if anybody shared it out, but regardless, I appreciate it, and I don't think I'll be back today, but maybe next week, and I'll try to put a little bit more out in advance to let people know. So this is Ben from Base Art Department, and I will talk to you guys later.